Who believed in you before you believed in yourself? For me, it was the women who saw something in me when I was just starting out. 20 years and 5 businesses later, I'm still here because they lifted me up when I needed it most. I'm Tania Gomez, and this is She Shapes Tomorrow, brought to you by Tania Gomez Consulting and Kismet, proudly sponsored by SN Services. Every episode, we sit down with women who are changing lives, building communities, and raising up the next generation. Women who'll remind you what's possible when we stop trying to do it alone. This year's International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain, and these stories will show you exactly what that looks like. Let's get into it. Welcome to She Shapes Tomorrow, the International Women's Day podcast. I'm your host, Tania Gomez, and today I'm joined by Laura Irving from SN Services. Laura is the RTO manager at SN Training and SN Services, where she's been instrumental in building a national training framework from the ground up. Within just 6 months of joining the organisation, she was promoted to Education Manager, leading the charge to achieve RTO registration, a milestone reached within the first year. A registered nurse with a heart for advocacy, Laura balances the high-stakes world of NDIS audits and program development with raising her 2 young sons. She's dedicated to shifting the disability sector towards a culture of empathy, dignity, and holistic person-centred care. Welcome, Laura. It's so lovely to have you with us today.
Hi, Tania. How are you?
Yeah, I'm so good. It's so nice to see you and so nice to have a conversation about you rather than audit and compliance and
I know.
to talk about. So first we want to talk about, I guess, a little bit more about you. And it's kind of the moments that made the person that you are. And you started about talking about being promoted from education manager within 6 months. What did that, I guess, really fast promotion teach you about trusting your judgments, where in an area where you didn't have all the answers yet?
Well, I think from coming into a leadership role, it taught me that I don't have to have all the answers. I think when you first join into a leadership role, you feel like you need to make the decisions there and then, and everyone's looking at you and you feel like you have to make that decision. Now I kind of sit back a little bit and really think about it. And if I don't have the answers, I'm okay with that. And I rethink about it and take the time. I now go with my gut instinct a lot more and don't push beyond of what I feel like I should know and go beyond kind of like my scope. If I don't know the answers, then I'm willing to learn very, very quickly and just ask people the right questions that I think will know and be able to help guide me to become a better leader to the other staff members, in all honesty. Coming into this role as well, it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. It forced me to rely on my experiences and really look back and reflect of everything I've done through my career and then go, okay, well, this happened in this situation. How could I kind of shape it to make it work in this new situation? So trusting my instincts and values is really kind of like what's led me to become the leader I am today, really.
And I think that asking for help part as well, I think it takes most leaders longer than it should to realize that there's always going to be someone who understands this better than you. And yes, it's worthwhile doing the research and learning it yourself, but there are some shortcuts too. There are some people who can give it to you quicker, and then you can kind of like ask them to show you their workings. Then you can look backwards and go, well, how did you find that? And where did that come from? And how do you know that? I feel the same. When I was first myself, I moved from RTOs to NDIS. And when I first I learned NDIS because the RTO that I was working at had a disability service. So I helped them go through the NDIS process from the RTO side because we had done RTO compliance and regulation for so long. And I understood the organisation, I understood the context. But for me, there were lots of times, and we had a consultant who helped us through the process. And even though I knew regulation quite well, applying it in a new context was a real, a real learning curve. And in NDIS, there's so many pockets, and I don't profess to be an expert of all of it at all. And there's still like SDA as an example. I still rely on so many experts to guide me through it because there's so many different areas. And I think the more I've learnt, the more I realize I don't know, and I pretend that I'm an expert. And I guess it's kind of similar to being a nurse. When you're a nurse, you know so much about one area, but then when you learn other faculties or specializations, you go, oh, right, that applies here, and I can take my learning there and apply it. But it isn't in context, and you've got to then rely on other nurses who are more senior or more experienced in those areas to kind of guide you through.
Yeah, and I went from community to ICU experience, hospital intense, back to community NDIS, and the regulations are completely different. Hospitals very strict, and you know exactly what you need to do, whereas community is a little bit like grey.
Yeah, grey.
It's a real different situation to navigate through, really. But I've just learned you're stronger in a team. You're stronger in numbers, you don't have to do it by yourself. So it's easier much asking for help. Yeah.
You've said that raising your two sons is your greatest responsibility. How does a desire to shape them into being kind, respectful men influence the way you choose to show up as a leader for your team at work?
I think because they're always watching and they're very, very young, they're at that age where they absorb everything. So I'm very conscious of how I speak and handle pressure. I'm trying to be very calm as a leader at work, and then that kind of flows through to the household. Kids feed off energy all the time. So I need to be able to show up and be a positive role model for them, how I handle pressure, how I navigate conflict, how I achieve milestones, so that they can see that, not everything's roses like out there. We are going to get times where it's difficult, and how do you handle it? How do you show up? And how do you navigate that pressure? So I think just taking accountability and being respectful at all times is what I'm trying to show them at the moment. Especially men, like at this day and age, trying to show men about emotional intelligence and make the decisions, and they're not being so, don't worry about your emotions, just, pick up and get on with it kind of thing. And it's like, no, okay, let's sit down and let's talk and let's address it. So it's just a whole different way I'm trying to shape them a little bit, It's hard actually raising boys.
I have three boys also, and I have a little girl who came after them. And as a mum of boys, I was really careful and conscious around showing them that women can do, men and women are equal, and that women can do everything that a man can, and that a man can do anything that a woman can, and trying to have those conversations. And things like chores in our house, the boys, they rotate through all the different chores, and my husband actually is a very very supportive husband, and when we were living in Perth, he was actually a stay-at-home dad with them while I worked. So we kind of flipped the model there a little bit as well. But it's quite scary for me having boys, and especially with all of the news and the media around toxic masculinity, and there's a real shifting dialogue around what it is to be a man in the world today. Younger generations very much are very different than generations that have passed, and that's really nice to see. But I think there is quite a lot of pressure to teach them how to be a good human and a good male, and what is their role in the world, and how to treat women and how to treat each other. And it's a lot. And when I had my daughter, I was surprised actually at how, for the first time, actually the reason I started doing the International Women's Day events was when I had a daughter, I I was actually before then I was actually never quite passionate about women's rights. And then when I saw that just the difference even in my young daughter at how people treated girls versus boys, I was like, no, there still is actually work to be done here. It isn't equal. We don't treat boys the same as we treat girls still, and wanting more opportunities, and then teaching her about, you know, boys and girls and those things as well. It's funny how your children impact your career and your life without you really realizing the decisions that you're making are intertwined.
I know. And like, I think because more women are becoming leaders, but, you know, like 10, 20 years ago, I want to show that it's women are leaders and they can just be strong leaders as men. And that by the time they're in their like 20s and stuff, there's going to be more women in industries and stuff like that. And it's having that respect and working together. So it's very important.
Yeah. And I think leaving space for being a new type of man as well, like not typecasting. It's hard. I even hear myself saying, you know, suck it up, and, you know, things like that, because I'm quite a resilient person, and it's just been like, get on with it, but actually having to go, okay, you're upset about that. And, you know, I have one boy who's softer and quieter and more feminine than the other two that are very masculine, and just figuring out, okay, you know,
different ways.
How do you deal with that? And he gets very emotional about, you didn't listen to me, but you didn't hear what I said. And it's like so tempting to go, suck it up, move on, keep going. But it's like, no, okay, you've got to validate his feelings and make sure that this is a safe place to be that different type of man.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, going back to the care that you provide at SN Services, and I guess the training, you develop programs that like focus on holistic nursing rather than task-based care. Why is it so important inside the NDIS for staff to understand the purpose, or I guess the why behind the task that they're creating, rather than just ticking off that they've done it?
Because then they'll end up providing meaningful support, showing empathy, having a deeper connection with participants. If they understand the reasons why they are helping them, and this care plan is written, and it's not just here, I'm going to tick a box. Yep, you understand of how to change a circuit. Yes, you understand how to suction a trachea, but how do you communicate with someone? See it from their point of view, live in their shoes a little bit, and see that they might have had quite an independent life for like 10, 20 years, and then all of a sudden, all of decisions and autonomy and what they can and can't do, like they can't just wake up one morning and get out of bed when they want to. They have to rely on a worker to come and get them out of bed, and that kind of decision is taken away from them. I want them to really sit back and think, what would you be like if you were in their situation, and kind of break it down, and not just go, right, we're just going to suction the tracheostomy. Talk to them, communicate with them, understand where they're coming from. You know, there's a lot of challenging behaviors and stuff that's coming out. Like, why are they having the challenging behaviors? Please understand it, and just think it's a reaction, but think of why they're doing the reaction. And I think that really does change the level of care once they break it down and understand it. It takes longer to train them, but this is why we're kind of starting some new roles at SN Services, where we're having these nurses now be more of a presence on the floor, where they're going to role model and shape. Yes, you can train in a simulation and in a training room, but that actually really doesn't, you don't shadow someone. So for me, I would like to be in the home and they shadow how the way I nurse. That's how you're going to teach someone. That's how you're going to teach empathy. That's how you're going to teach how do you communicate, how you think of them, asking for their dignity and choices, and like, what would they like to do? And that shadowing and that role modeling will flow through. And then it's a knock-on effect. When they go and do buddy shifts with the next person, they'll teach the next person. So that's kind of like what I would like. And I feel like that would lead to better outcomes, safety, and then the participants' well-being would feel safe. And that's all I want the participants to do, is feel safe. Because a lot of them, when they come to us, they're like, I just don't feel safe. And that really upsets me.
Yeah, absolutely. And your methodology must be working, because in your latest NDIS audit, you achieved you're exceeding expectations, level 3 outcome for those. And I guess that's really saying that the training that you're building there at SN Services is that level above.
Yeah, Caroline and Kim have put a lot of money and resources into, of the education department. I think Kim coming from an education background in ICU and Caroline coming from an education background from the university and stuff like that, I think it really shows of how much kind of dedication they've put to it at SN Services, and then developing SN training and it being the forefront. Because at the end of the day, if staff and participants feel supported and they feel that they're adequately trained, then they're not going to go into a shift feeling anxious, and then you're not going to have losing staff. You know, if I feel like you'll increase your retention of staff if they feel safe and they feel confident supporting that participant, and the participants will feel safe once their staff are confident to be able to look after them and understand them. So it's just a knock-on effect, you know, and that's why we just want more of a presence in the home to shape that role modeling kind of perspective.
Yeah, the scaffolding of learning is so important, isn't it? It doesn't matter how much you've read and you've studied. It's not until you're actually having to do it that it's actually that, you know, adult learning principles of being relevant, timely, all of those things kick into place.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned to me the joy of seeing a staff member have a light bulb moment during one-on-one teaching. Can you share a specific story where a staff member's shift in perspective changed changed the outcome for a participant?
Yeah, so the staff member started with us and they did like our generic training and stuff like that we do, because it's really hard to tailor right at the beginning to each participant, and they're so complex and so diverse. Then they did their buddy shifts and stuff like that, but they just felt like they still weren't that confident. They weren't 100%. So we got that feedback from them after the buddy shift, because we do that all the time. And we got that feedback from the participants' parents as well. So she came back and I did some one-on-one study. I basically was like, right, no PowerPoints, no simulations, no nothing. We did one-on-one, and I kind of stood here with a whiteboard and a pen, and I just drew out some lungs. I drew out visually, like understanding the reasons why you suction, the reasons why you keep mobilizing the patient, and broke down the kind of support plan and everything like that. And she really then understood it. And I don't know if it's just the way that she learned or that was better for her in regards to her understanding, instead of you kind of get into the habit with training and educating through PowerPoints and stuff like that. But a lot of people switch off and don't really take it in. So when you get that one-on-one teaching, you can really connect and break it down and ask questions. I think because she'd already started working with the participant as well, she had got that experience and that feedback. So then she was able to, in a safe environment, ask questions back. So she really then understood and broke down each task. And she goes, oh my God, that makes sense now why this is so important. This makes sense now why we have to do this. And she really, really has improved her journey. And she's still working with the participant now. And then her last supervision, she was so happy that she got the opportunity to have that extra training. And she's studying actually to be a nurse. And she's said it's really improved in regards to her nursing with the experience that she's having out in the community, which is invaluable because a lot of nurses that study during their time don't often get that experience, you know, especially with the complexity of our clients. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that in that holistic way and working in clients' homes, it will actually shape her to be a better nurse and not just be so kind of medical or hospital focused.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's so important to bring all the pieces together to be really understand the participant, understand their needs, and then I guess apply that experience and that learning to really support them to, you know, meet their goals or live their best lives.
Yeah.
You obviously have a lot going on between raising two young boys and work and prepping for multiple audits and lots of other things going on. What have you learned over your career about the importance of setting boundaries and asking for support during busy times?
Well, I have to say, probably the first year and a half, I did not set boundaries. All I did was kind of work a lot, and that did become at the detriment of myself. Now, yes, I can set healthy boundaries. I do my best. I task focus and I goal orientate a lot. And then with that, I try to finish at the end of the day and then get up early and kind of set these boundaries when I need to. A lot, I rely on my family and colleagues for support. So if there's something I can't achieve or I'm struggling with, I reach out. We've got a great team here that if I don't know the answers or I'm like having a bit of a lull day, I can lean on them and they can go, right, okay, so what needs to be done? Let's lay it out. Let's break it down. Okay, let's focus on this. This is a priority, do this. So having that network builds up your strength. So I think for me, it's quite lucky. With managing the boys, I just try and prioritize work separately and then my life with them separately, you know, and not blend the two. It's very hard to say that, to do it, because we're a 24/7 service, but I've always got to remember someone else is there to pick it up when like I'm locked off, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. At SN Services, you are an all women team. Do you think, and especially with Kim and Caroline being mums themselves, do you think that helps being in that type of environment?
100%. Just having that compassion at the forefront, I think, with all of us is kind of our main goal. Having empathy for the clients and respecting them and respecting each one of their journeys as well. You know, Caroline and Kim still go out and meet the clients first up as well. They know all the clients, they know the clients' families and stuff. You know, we're a growing company, but we're still quite small in how we still work with our staff. And I think just being with a room full of women, we each understand and respect each other's journeys and experiences, and we all come from different avenues, so that I already know that Danny's strength, if I need it, would be leadership, making decisions and stuff. So if I ever get stuck, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Danny. If I have another situation where, okay, I need some help with educating or someone I need to be really, really outstandingly positive, then I'll turn to Maggie or Susie and go, hey, this staff member's this type of way of her learning, would you be able to help? Because I know their strengths. So we really kind of work together when we need to.
Yeah, that's beautiful. The theme for International Women's Day in 2026 is Give to Gain. What does this mean to you in the context of your life?
I think just giving back to the participants. They're always at the focus and the forefront. Being there for my team in regards to just how we work together and how we kind of look after each other, and the clients are at the forefront. We're at the forefront. Our staff are as well. Their mental health and well-being. We put a lot of effort and work into that. I'm probably a bit of a perfectionist with that in so many ways. I have very high standards of care, so I just really want them to be supported at all times, really.
Yeah. And if you were like reflecting back on your journey with SN Services and your, I guess, through leadership, what would you tell the Laura who first started at SN Services, who was unsure about the promotion and about the strength she would need to get through the journey?
It's okay not to know everything. It's really okay not to know everything, and go with your gut instincts. You know it, you know what feels right, and lead with that more, because always your gut instincts will tell you to do the right way. And if you get it wrong, it's okay. And at least your heart's in the right place and there's no malice or bad intentions. You just learn from it and move on, and don't hold on to it. I think I used to take things a lot personally when I didn't get things right or I'd fail at something, and then I would really kind of take it that I've made the mistake. Now it's like, look, mistakes happen. You make a bad decision or a poor decision. I don't like saying bad decision, but a poor decision, and you just reflect and learn from it. And I think that's what I would tell myself, really. Just be confident in your decisions a little bit more and trust yourself.
For women listening who want to see a more compassionate disability sector, what's one thing you think that they can do to help shape that future?
I think even just small daily actions of showing compassion will help, and that will shape the sector. Just even little small moments. They don't have to be grand gestures. They don't have to be big moves. I think just consistency and showing up all the time. Leading with empathy. Think of the person, not just the task. You know, don't think of they need to know the support plan. I understand NDIS has all this governance, and yes, but listen to the participants, listen to their choices, listen to what they want out of it and break it down, because sometimes they're not worried about goals or the governance side of it. You know, they just want someone to hear them and they just want a voice. Model respect, kindness and dignity. I think that's, if you show that at the forefront, you're going to see it, and your participants are going to see it, your staff are going to see it, and you will achieve amazing outcomes if you lead with that. You know, not just tick a box, not go, yep, you're competent, yep, you're compliant, yep, you know the support plan, yep, you've got the answers, but can you be there for the participant? You know, can you be by their side and support them and give them the confidence to kind of lead and choose the life that they want?
Yeah,
so that would be my one.
It's very, very powerful advice. I like that a lot. The last question for you today is, where can people find out more about SN training?
Via our website, sntraining.com.au. All the information's on there, all our courses. We've also got our SN Services website. So obviously, because we have two companies, so SN Training is like the education and the training of staff, and this is how we want to set and change the workforce. We really want people to understand the reasons why they're supporting the participants and why these support plans are in place, and why things like risk assessments and everything down, but also to understand the complexity of our participants, understand their journey and the reasons why they need the support from us. So yeah, I think just our website, and we've got business cards and stuff like that. You can always call us and message and pick up the phone, and we are happy to just talk for hours, as you can tell.
You guys will be all of our International Women's Day events as our major sponsor, so they'll get to come along and chat to you there also.
Yeah, great.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's great to get to know you a little bit better, and I look forward to seeing you at the events in March.
Yeah, thank you, Tania. See you later. Bye.
Wasn't today's guest amazing? Imagine being in a room with over 100 women like her. That's our 2026 International Women's Day events, happening across Western Sydney, Gold Coast, Adelaide, and Perth this March. You'll meet women building businesses you want to learn from. Leaders are solving problems you're facing right now, and the kind of people who become your text at midnight support system. That's not networking, that's give to gain. Find your event at taniagomez.com.au. I'll be there, and I hope you will be too.